My name is Charlie, and I want to thank the congregation for your hospitality, particularly so because I'm an atheist. Question I have is two-part. The first part would be, if the crucifixion and the resurrection are so important, why is there not a single personal account of those events, not a single account that says, I was there and I saw it, and this is my report? And secondly, why is there only biblical evidence of those two events and no secular evidence of those two events?
Well, Dr. Craig, you're the resurrection guy. I would say, though, in terms of the crucifixion itself, we have 5 ancient sources outside the Bible that talk about it. Tacitus, Josephus, Lucian, the Talmud, one other one I can't. I'm trying to think. Anyway, but go ahead.
Yeah, Mar Bar Serapion.
Yes, Mar Bar Serapion, yeah.
When you say it's important, what you've got to remember is it's important to Christians, but it wasn't important to the secular world. Jesus was an unknown hillbilly preacher from Galilee who was crucified by the Romans as a messianic pretender. So it isn't at all surprising that this man wouldn't be mentioned widely in secular sources. In fact, you have to ask yourself, what secular sources are there from the first century that fail to mention him? Really, we don't have many secular sources from the first century. You've got Josephus, and he does talk about him. Yeah, the other first century authors are lost. So it's really difficult to think of sources that ought to mention Jesus that fail to do so. And then the other factor is that remember that originally there wasn't such a thing as the New Testament. Originally there were just these separate accounts written in Greek, handed down out of the first century, which the church later collected and put into one volume. And by the very nature of the case, the sources that they picked to put into the New Testament were the earliest primary source documents about Jesus of Nazareth. And so by the very nature of the case, you see, the best documents for the historical Jesus were collected into the pages of the New Testament. So it's not surprising that you wouldn't find a whole lot of sources outside the New Testament that are reliable sources for the historical Jesus. Those sources outside tend to be secondary, derivative, and later, because by the very nature of the case, the primary sources were collected. We have 4 separate biographies of this man, as well as multiple references to him in the epistles and other documents of the New Testament. So it is really quite incredible that we have more historical evidence for the life of Jesus than we do for most major figures of antiquity, which is really quite astonishing when you consider what an obscure figure he was. So I think if there's occasion for surprise, it's quite on the other side. What is surprising is that we would have so much historical information about this man, Jesus of Nazareth.